Hi everyone, welcome to Poetry and Talk. Poetry and Talk is a new online interviewing platform for poets to share their poetry, background, and inspiration. Thank you so much for watching today. We have a new guest poet to introduce you to. We'd also like to thank all the prior guest poets that we've had on Poetry and Talk for helping kick off Poetry and Talk in such a new and an exciting way. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward also to the new guest poets that we have lined up in the next couple of months. So please stay around with us, and thank you for watching. Stay connected with us on our Facebook page, Poetry and Talk. Please like and share. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Poetry and Talk. Again, we'd like to thank you for watching today. Let's go ahead and welcome our guest poet for today, Melissa Maxine Kangal. Hi, Melissa, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm fine.
Good, good. Thank you so much for being with us.
No problem.
A customary opening, so if you would like to give us a little intro to a poem, and that would be great.
So, hi, my name is Melissa Maxine Kangal. I am a Caribbean poet, aspiring writer, and I will open with one of my poems that more or less gives the reader a fair idea of what my poetry is about on the whole. The poem is entitled The Bedroom. If these four words could have spoken, the stories they would have told, the endless stairs fallen, the rescue screams, the crumbling and the folds. These four walls watched and it all, the suffocating and fighting, the cuffing and striking, the kneeling and trying. Yes, these four walls would tell you how many times I was dying, how many times he tried to take my life, and how many times my Creator revived. Just like me, I am sure more than ever, these four walls are astonished at how much I survived and never surrendered.
Wow, that's very deep. And would you share with us what this poem is about, please, called The Bedroom?
The bedroom, the thought behind the poem is an essence, in nutshell, of how I was abused and the place that my abuse took place mostly, which was the bedroom. So I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I write based on my personal experiences. The bedroom was written to capture exactly how I felt about all the abuse and pain that I felt within that time. Also, how much time I would resort to it to pray and comfort myself, knowing that God is in control and He would lead me out of it. So, more or less, it is about if the walls of the bedroom could have spoken, it would have told my entire story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what you have experienced that you put in very beautifully in your poetry, and thank you for sharing that with us. Poetry has been a healing force and vehicle for you to kind of help to heal this these experiences. Can you get into that a little bit more with us?
Yes. Firstly, I began writing poetry to the public about a year and a half ago. I actually, as a little girl, always wrote poetry. It was my escape ground because I have survived abuse from childhood come up. I was raped, so my poetry is based on my personal experiences. So writing poetry has been a healing mechanism for me throughout my life. However, I was a little shy about my platform in the sense that my stories were humiliating. So there was a point in my life where I was afraid to speak or speak out of what was being done to me. So as a measure of coping, I would write and I would draw, and poetry was one of my go-to. It has served as a healing platform in my life because not only has it been a venting ground, it allowed me to express myself with all the feelings that I had pent up inside.
So it's involved a lot of trust and a lot of faith on your part because you're sharing something that other people can absolutely relate to, and I'm sure that they'll be inspired by this as well. But also from your perspective, from your shoes, it's something, you know, that, as I mentioned, required a lot of trust and a lot of faith for you to even share this voice with others.
Yes, it does. It has. If you would have asked me 2 years ago if I would have thought about sharing it, no. I, based on what I have been through, it was so humiliating. I felt ashamed at one point. I felt hurt to the point that I think people would have judged me. However, as I began my healing process, I realized there are a lot of people out there who suffer the same. And I was inspired, through prayer, through healing. I realized that there is a need to reach out to others because people would reach out to me for advice. And one day, after much careful thought, I said, maybe if I put my talent out there as a poet, it would reach someone, it could reach someone. And I have been able to help others through my poetry since I have been posting it on a public domain.
Mm-hmm. And how long has it been, Melissa, since you shared it publicly?
I started in October of 2019.
Mm-hmm. And you've been getting some positive feedback from others.
Yes, I have. Since I have begun, I must admit I never thought poetry, putting it out there. I use the social media, Instagram and Facebook, as well as WhatsApp for your statuses. I share my poetry through these platforms. I never expected that it would have had an impact on a lot of people. My initial thought was, I'm just putting it there. I didn't even expect anything. But then I began getting messages, people reaching out to me. There were instances I actually saved other people's lives. People would reach out to me and say, I was about to just commit suicide. I saw your poetry. It brought so much thought to me, so much healing to me. I just need to speak to you just for a moment. And through that one moment of conversation, we strike a bond and, continually communicate. I offer advice, trying to inspire others that, yes, this might be a dark period in your life, but you could recover from it.
Mm-hmm. And it's so beautiful in that you have been kind enough to share your heart, share your experiences by making them publicly known in an area that's been challenging, obviously, and for you to heal. And it's so beautiful that it's also now a catalyst to help to heal others, and you're making new connections and new friendships and hoping to heal others. So it's kind of like the circle is kind of coming full circle just because you took the initiative to do this. So that says quite a lot.
Yes. Not only do I write, okay, so all my poems, all my poetry is based on my experiences. If you dive deeper into the poetry, you would see poetry that describes suicide or torture, because these are the things that I have been through, abuse. But you would also see the positive part of it, where I rely on my creator and the driving force of what made me heal. So it's a bit a combination of, you know, recovery, healing, and faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep it all rounded. I want my readers, my audience to know that after dark storms, there would be sunlight, and the sunlight being the creator factor, your belief system, whoever you believe is your almighty God, that, you know, he would be the driving force to help you recover, save you, and in the end, that the ultimate decision in personally for somebody going through abuse does not have to be dark at all times.
Can you share a little more with us, Melissa, when you were going through all of these things, in addition to your poetry helping you to heal and kind of get all these feelings out and whatnot, you also relied heavily on our creator. And can you kind of share the relationship that developed and the healing and the faith that occurred within you to help you with all of these things?
All right. So after many years of abuse, my last relationship was very abusive to the point that the person was narcissistic. Within the abuse, there was torture and violence. There were near-death experiences as well. It had culminated to a point where I recognized that I needed to save myself. I needed to get out of the relationship. Even in leaving, it posed the threat of my life still being at risk. However, recovering from such situations is very traumatic. And healing is not an easy road, it's not an easy process. Even though I sought counseling, it still was not enough for me to vent what I was going through, because there would have been very intimate experiences that were humiliating. Sometimes the experiences were so humiliating, just speaking to someone else, you know, it was too much. So I resorted to writing. I decided, you know, when I can't speak out, the best way for me to really speak is to write. So I began writing. I bought a book, I kept a journal. So I got a really pretty book. And I promised myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. Every day I'm going to write whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm thinking. And I began writing. And through the writing process, I started to vent. I started to open up the things that I would have loved to tell someone, and I was afraid to, or afraid to describe. I began writing it. And before you know it, I recognized my talent, which I had from small to write poetry, existed. It was there, it never left. So I began, I said, you know, okay, I could start doing this. And in the journalizing, I began the poetry. It was one day that my good friend, she saw it. She saw me journalizing and she decided, she said, can I have a read? And I showed her the journal. And she said, Melissa, you know, you have such great talent. Why don't you write? Why don't you share your experiences? I was still shy, still afraid, but I continued writing nonetheless. Before I know it, as I went along writing, doing the poetry, I started to have that healing stage inside of me, which came with prayer. And I started to build on my prayer life. And through the prayer life now, my thoughts started to flow. I would focus, I would meditate, and I began growing a stronger bond with my creator. So the process of the creator coming in now is that I was able to recognize his saving grace and mercy for me based on my faith, because I'm always of the belief that he would never abandon me, he would never forsake me. And then I would find my thoughts now leaning towards prayer and, you know, recognizing how beautifully made I was.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. That's very touching and very moving. And again, thank you so much for sharing. And I love that you include in your poetry, based on the one that you opened up the show with, that you include your prayer life as, you know, how it was a healing force and, you know, energy that you turn to help you as well. Continue to share with us how things are going currently now, and projects that are going on. Are you going to put these in a book? Do you have any projected trajectory, so to speak, with these?
I don't have much projection. I actually thinking about creating a mini poetry book. Some of my poems, I call them angel poetry because based on my experience, as I said, with my creator and his saving grace, I created a few poems based on angels. So one of the most recent ideas I have, and I have been exploring, is creating the idea of creating an angel poetry book. A mini book, not much poems, it's 10 for the most, that's my aim. And to have it shared via social media and also via Amazon for sale. But as I said, it's just an idea that I'm brainstorming for a while. My hope, honestly, is to continue the poetry and create books along the lines of healing, recovery, and redemption. So, you know, to have the idea, the writer and the reader to express and know that these things are possible.
Mhm. I'd like to go back, Melissa, when you had mentioned that you were writing. It sounded like you were writing every day, um, you know, helping you get through everything. That a friend saw your journal, or you were together, and then you shared it with your friend, and then is it correct that that seemed to kind of like, based on what your friend was telling you, made you kind of feel like, okay, maybe now I'm, you know, I can share this with some other people, with her encouraging response?
She initially, yes, initially the thought was there, but as I said, I quickly dismissed it because my healing and recovery took years. It might sound funny, but it has taken me years. I actually became a little brave with my poetry when I met my best friend, Ashana Sukhdeo. She's also a poet known as Lady Torn. She was is the driving force of, you know, pushing me there, pushing me and trying to show me that go out there, share your experience, you can heal. Not only that, the support from family, my daughters and my husband, it actually just gave me that push to be brave and put it out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. It shows the power of a true friend. And actually, Ashana was one of our guest poets as well. What else would you like to share with us, Melissa?
I would like the audience to know that poetry, you know, years ago, I would not have seen it as a big deal. For me, poetry was reading from a book as a little girl, going to the library, taking it off a bookshelf and reading and being all excited and passionate about it. But poetry is not for any and everyone. It would only reach the audience of those who actually love it or love to read or love to write. However, it is a healing mechanism. Some do it to just widely express their thoughts, others do it as a venting ground. But whatever the reason it is, poetry is an escape to the realities of life in a sense. It is a place where you could resort to a safe haven. It is a place of expression. And I would like to think, honestly, after my experience, it's a place of healing. I would like the audience to know that when poets share their work, it is not just they get up and they share it to sharing sake. It is really a personal experience for them. It's the depth of their thoughts and who they are So it's not just the experiences that they experience, but it is the far most innermost core part of their soul that they share.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for other poets, I would like them to know as well, continue to do what they do. It may look like if you're not touching someone. Social media has been where if you have a certain amount of likes or a certain amount of followers, it makes you recognizable, but that is so far from the truth because my follow guide, if you watch my followers, it's not much. Sometimes a poem would barely get a like or two, or it may not even reach 20 likes. However, when you get the feedback from one-on-one from persons, sometimes people message, sometimes they call or they email, and that's where the true focus is. It's reaching there. The figures does not reflect the true intensity of where it reaches because not everybody would like or follow, but it actually reached a broader spectrum of the world.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, I like that. Absolutely, Melissa. I wanted to applaud you because I feel like in life that showing up is a big part of it. And for you to just actually have the inner strength, to come forth and the faith and the trust, to show up and say, look, these are some things I've experienced and I can share these through my poetry and they've helped me heal and help others to heal, but just you showing up really I think helps to open doors, and that's what you've done, so I really applaud that. Absolutely. I like how you're going into some words of advice. Anything else that you'd like to share along these lines, or anything else with your poetry that we haven't touched upon yet, Melissa?
My poetry is, as I said, just my reflection of my personal experiences and thought. Sometimes it's very deep, sometimes it's very raw. Um, Expressing it, putting it out there. I don't put all my poetry, but I do put what I think is needed because I believe in saving some for should I venture into any other kind of great project. However, my aim is to reach society, reach others, the women, the children, even the men, people who have been through rape, domestic violence, confinement, torture, heartache. I write about heartaches as well because not because I was abused alone caused pain in my life. A broken heart is something very hard to mend and recover from. I write about love, the dark side of it, the bright side of it. So poetry is something that my poetry is, I would like to think, holistic. And I try to keep a balance between the hurtful side of it and the bright side of it.
That's interesting. You keep a balanced perspective. You don't shy away from anything. You express things that happen, but yet you offer to show the light. So they kind of have like a whole composite of it. That's correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we still have a few more moments, Melissa. Um, any other areas that you'd like to share with us? Maybe some current projects?
Well, at the moment, I'm actually working on two poems. One is an expression of love. I actually posted one recently called Promise. It's a bit long, but it's actually a poem along the line of love and anticipation of marriage. So it's a combination of how I feel, waiting for that day when I can be married and the love that I have towards my other half. And it was for me a change. It was a difference because I got so accustomed writing along the lines of abuse and familiar with writing along the lines of recovery through God and my faith, that I actually, for the first time, stepped out into the light of love itself. So that was one of my current projects, which I have posted. So anybody visits my page, they would see it. It's entitled Promise. It gave me a feeling of gratitude, and it also helped me recognize that I'm ready to write about the positive side of love.
Mhm. Mhm. Can you share with us, Melissa, how we can stay in touch with you?
So I am on Instagram at Purple Aura is the name of my page. If you're searching me, it's at majestic_purple aura. I'm also on Facebook by the name of Purple Aura. And I also have an email which you can contact me. It's purpleaura.8120@gmail.com.
Okay, great. I love the idea of the angel book. If you do pursue that, we'd love to have you back on. We'd love to have you back on at any rate. And we're really grateful for your candor and sharing your heart and coming on board Poetry and Talk, so we can all be healed and we can learn about your poetic journey and see how that not only heals us but helps to be a big influence on others. And again, thank you for showing up. It means a lot. Thank you so much, Melissa. Any closing comments before we have to close for today?
Yes, my closing comment would be to the wider audience that God is love, and not because you're going through a storm today doesn't mean tomorrow won't be brighter. Sometimes pain and suffering is just, it may seem unending because it's years of, endurance. However, the sun would always shine at some point. So always have faith, always have courage, and no matter what you're going through, there's always someone you can reach out to. They can reach out to me if they just need advice through my Instagram and Facebook profiles. And I also have a personal blog, which is on Instagram. It's at Melissa Maxine Kangal at mellow.melly.mel_20. The personal blog is where I do more of my intimate thoughts, more of my healing thoughts, but it's too long to place into poetry. So it's more like a essay kind of reflection. So in case anybody is interested, they are free to try and follow me there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always a better day, and there's always somebody out there that they can reach out to for help. They're not alone, and healing will come.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for those encouraging words. And thank you for being our guest poet today, Melissa. Much success to you. Please stay in touch with us. And again, thank you for sharing from your heart today and helping us understand a little bit more about you, some of the things that you've been through and your poetry and how this can serve us as well and help to heal. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks again, Melissa. Thank you everybody for watching Poetry and Talk. You can stay connected with us on our Facebook page, Poetry and Talk. Be on the lookout for new poet interviews uploaded, and we have several poet interviews for you to view as well. Please like and share and stay connected with us. Until the next Poetry and Talk, be well and be blessed. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Melissa, thank you again for being our guest poet. Thanks, everyone.